Today we have a very special guest joining in on the review with me, my good friend Joey. Say hello, Joey. Now, Joey, come on. I told you not to insult me like that in public. And if you think that was disturbing, buckle the hell up. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, homies. Welcome back to Oktoberfest here on Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia. We're still talking about Halloweeny / scary movies from my childhood, and today's topic is going to be a little film called Drop Dead Fred. Now, if you've seen Drop Dead Fred, I know what you're thinking. This is not a horror movie, and it is not a Halloween movie. Why is it being talked about on Oktoberfest? Well, here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, it is kind of a horror comedy. It's psychologically horrific. I think that's the best way to describe it. Drop Dead Fred is psychologically horrific, especially when you think about the stuff you don't see, because there's a lot of implied things here, and they are even scarier than what shows up on screen. And the fact that I spent way too much of my childhood watching this says a lot about me that I'd rather nobody knew. Drop Dead Fred stars Rick Mayall and Phoebe Cates, aka pretty much the hottest woman on the planet from 1981 to 1995. Damn, girl. Wow. Phoebe plays a young woman named Lizzie who is living sort of an unhappy, unfulfilled life. She's a housewife and her husband is clearly cheating on her, and she's just this sort of meek, very, very timid woman who has never really, done what she wanted in life. She's just kind of going through the motions. And it turns out she is a little bit crazy. And by a little bit crazy, I mean certifiable. Through a series of flashbacks, we find out that Lizzie had a very traumatic childhood at the hands of a mother who was verbally and possibly physically abusive. Like I said, it's the stuff you don't see that has you worried. Whenever we flash back and we see Lizzie's childhood, her mom is a tyrant. She is a scary woman who kind of runs everything like a dictatorship around the household. And we get the sense that she's rough, that she's a very rough person with this child. There's a scene where she's combing Lizzie's hair and she's being very rough with the comb, and Lizzie is clearly in pain, but the mother doesn't care. And you can't help but think, okay, if this is what combing hair is like for little Lizzie, you can only imagine where the mom draws the line, and it's not where most parents draw the line. Long story short, I'm pretty sure this woman beat this child quite a bit. Because of all this trauma, little Lizzie spent most of her time indoors, huddled away inside her room, so the only friend she could make was an imaginary friend, namely this guy, Drop Dead Fred, played with wacky enthusiasm by Mr. Rick Mayall. Drop Dead Fred is everything that Lizzie is not. He's confident, he's charming, he's brave, he's outgoing, and he will stand up to her mother, even though her mother can't see Drop Dead Fred. In fact, nobody can see or hear Drop Dead Fred except for Lizzie herself, because he is her imaginary friend, naturally. But is he only in her mind, or is he actually some kind of magical being who's literally manifesting in front of her? The movie leaves that up for you to decide, because he gets Lizzie into a hell of a lot of trouble and only ends up creating more trauma for her instead of less. And when we cut back to the modern day, to adult Lizzie trying to live her adult life, another little bout of trauma takes place that suddenly brings everything rushing to the forefront, and next thing you know, adult Lizzie is once again encountering Drop Dead Fred. She thinks she's crazy because he's not real. He insists that he is. And now we have a grown woman running around talking and interacting with a man that only she can see and hear. And everybody is ready to slap her in a straitjacket and throw her down a hole. And that, in essence, is the plot of Drop Dead Fred. Oh, and also Carrie Fisher is in it, and she plays Lizzie's best friend in the world. So yay, there's that too. This whole film is like a train wreck that you can't take your eyes off of, and I don't mean that in the sense as, like, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying everything that Lizzie goes through is like a train wreck, because you know she's going to get in trouble. You know her mother is going to flip out. You know the people in her lives, her friends, her husband, her new boyfriend, they're all going to flip out when they realize what kind of person Lizzie is. But the dynamic between Phoebe Cates and Rick Mayall is played so well, where he is essentially almost like a Looney Tunes character in just the rubbery way he exists. And Lizzie is this straight-laced woman who is just trying to get her life in order, and they balance one another out really well. until you see Lizzie start to slip deeper and deeper into her own insanity. And then you're like, okay, who is the crazier one here? So it's so much fun to watch the train wreck that is her life unfold. And yes, I count it as a horror movie because at the end of the day, it is just a very disturbing thought. It's a disturbing thought when you tally up the fact that all of this happened because of how traumatic Lizzie's childhood was. When I was a little kid and I used to watch this, I remember being frightened, literally very frightened of the mother character. She was fearsome like you wouldn't believe, and she still comes across that way even if you watch it today. The way they shoot the mother, the low camera angles they use, the eerie music they use, the commandeering voice the actress uses. She's a scary ass villain. And yes, she is the villain of the picture. The whole movie is about Lizzie standing up to her mother. Imagine the whole mother-daughter dynamic from Carrie played for a bit more laughs, but with still the same amount of psychological trauma done to the daughter. That's Drop Dead Fred. This is one of my childhood movies, but frankly, this is not a movie that I would show to little kids. It is very frightening, and it's got some saucy remarks, too. This is, I want to say, at least PG-13, if not R. There's a lot of lewd comments made by Fred. You know, Fred says every word in the book at one point. He is British, after all, and they swear like champions. So expect a few choice words here and there. I would show this to a kid when they turn, like, 10. I think 10 is a good age. 10-year-olds I don't think would be too afraid of this, and they can laugh along with it, and they can learn along with it, because the movie has a really sweet moral at the end of it all. You really feel for Lizzie, and you really you want to see her succeed, because she's such a nice gal, and she's Phoebe Cates, baby. Va-va-voom. Now, if you really want to know, is Drop Dead Fred real, or is Lizzie just entirely insane? Well, the movie kind of tells you at the end. The movie kind of makes it clear which way it leans, but I'm not going to spoil that here. That is just too much fun to spoil. The way they reveal the answer is fun, so I'm not going to spoil it here. If you want to know, go watch Drop Dead Fred. That's what these videos are for, honey. But that's Drop Dead Fred. That is this edition of Oktoberfest. I'll see you here again with another wonderfully creepy Halloween-y movie very shortly. Until next time, adios.